The assassination ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the massive viewport of the diplomatic station, watching three suns cast their light across the neutral world of Nexus Prime. At 45, she had spent the last decade representing Earth in the Galactic Senate, fighting for humanity's place among the stars. Her dark hair was streaked with silver now, earned through countless negotiations with species that viewed humans as little more than clever animals. Today was different. Today, the Krillian Empire had finally agreed to peace talks. Captain Sarah Chen approached from behind, her military boots silent on the polished floor. As head of the diplomatic security detail, she had learned to read the tension in Elena's shoulders, the way her hands clasped behind her back when she was deep in thought. "The Krillian delegation has arrived," Sarah reported, her voice carrying the crisp efficiency of 15 years in Earth's defense forces. Their flagship just docked at the main port. Elena turned, her brown eyes reflecting both hope and wariness. "How many ships?" 12. Heavy cruisers mostly, with that massive dreadnought they call the Void Hammer. Sarah paused. "Admiral Webb wanted me to remind you that we only have 3 vessels in the system." The Krillians insisted on the show of force. They said it demonstrates their commitment to the negotiations. Elena's voice carried doubt. "Something feels wrong about this, Sarah. 3 years of war, thousands of human colonies burned, and suddenly they want peace?" Sarah had learned to trust Elena's instincts. The ambassador had navigated galactic politics longer than anyone from Earth, earning respect even from species that considered humans inferior. If Elena sensed danger, there was danger. The negotiation chamber on Nexus Prime was a marvel of neutral architecture, designed to accommodate the wildly different physiologies of dozens of species. Elena took her place at the human delegation table, flanked by Dr. James Harrison, Earth's top xenobiologist and military strategist, and Trade Secretary Michael Torres. Sarah positioned herself with the security team along the chamber's perimeter. "Hi." Archon Zethik entered with the arrogance typical of his species. The Krillian leader stood nearly 8 feet tall, his reptilian features sharp and predatory. His scales shifted from deep purple to black as he moved, a sign of emotional intensity that Elena had learned to read over the years. Behind him came a dozen Krillian advisors, their movements synchronized in a way that spoke of military precision rather than diplomatic protocol. "Ambassador Vasquez," Zythek's voice carried the hiss common to his people. "We gather today to end the conflict between our species. That's what we all hope for, High Archon." Elena's response was measured, professional. "The terms you've proposed are significant. Earth is willing to discuss reparations and territorial concessions in exchange for lasting peace." Sarah watched the exchange from her position, noting how the Krillian guards had positioned themselves throughout the chamber. Something was wrong with their formation. These weren't defensive positions. Dr. Harrison leaned forward, consulting his tablet. "The mineral rights in the Centauri system represent a substantial concession on humanity's part. In return, we expect guaranteed safe passage for human merchant vessels through Krillian space." Zythek's scales shifted to a darker hue. "Your species has proven surprisingly resilient. We expected your surrender after the Proxima incident." The Proxima incident. Sarah's jaw tightened at the mention. 50,000 human civilians killed. When the Krillians glassed the colony world, the memory still burned in every human heart. "Resilience is a human trait you've underestimated before," Elena replied calmly. "We're here to ensure it doesn't happen again." That's when Sarah saw it. The Krillian guard nearest to the ambassador had moved his hand to his weapon. The gesture was subtle but unmistakable to trained eyes. Sarah's hand moved to her sidearm as she activated her comm unit. "Control, this is Phoenix. I need immediate." The energy blast caught Elena in the chest, throwing her backward against the wall. The ambassador's eyes met Sarah's for one final moment, her lips forming silent words. Tell them they chose war." Chaos erupted in the chamber. More energy blasts filled the air as Krillian guards opened fire on the human delegation. Dr. Harrison fell, his tablet skittering across the floor. Trade Secretary Torres tried to reach cover but was cut down 3 steps from safety. Sarah drew her weapon, returning fire as she moved toward Elena's position. The ambassador was still breathing, but barely. Blood pooled beneath her, mixing with the geometric patterns of the chamber floor. "Medivac now!" Sarah shouted into her comm, knowing it was too late. High Archon Zythek stood over Elena's body, his scales now completely black with satisfaction. The human delegation has been eliminated due to unfortunate circumstances. An accident during the peace negotiations. Elena's hand found Sarah's arm with surprising strength. Don't let them think we're weak." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Tell Webb, tell Earth, we were never weak. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, Earth's greatest diplomat, died on the polished floor of a neutral world, betrayed by the species she had tried to make peace with." Sarah fought her way to the emergency shuttles, carrying Elena's body and the data tablet containing proof of the Krillian treachery. The station's docking bays were chaos as Krillian forces tried to eliminate all witnesses. 3 members of Sarah's security team gave their lives buying time for her escape. The shuttle cleared Nexus Prime's atmosphere just as Krillian cruisers moved to surround the station. Sarah uploaded the tactical data to the hidden relay beacon, ensuring Earth would receive the truth about what happened here. During the 3-day journey back to Earth, Sarah sat beside Elena's body in the shuttle's small medical bay. The ambassador looked peaceful now, her face unmarked by the violence that had ended her life. But Sarah could still see the determination in those closed eyes, the strength that had carried humanity's hopes across the galaxy. Admiral Marcus Webb met Sarah at Luna Station, his weathered face grim as he reviewed the footage from her combat recorder. The 60-year-old veteran had commanded Earth's forces through the early skirmishes with the Krillians, but nothing had prepared him for this. "She was reaching for a weapon?" Webb asked, studying the tactical display. "No, sir. Ambassador Vasquez was unarmed. They murdered her during peace negotiations. It was planned from the beginning." Sarah's voice was steady, but Webb could see the rage burning behind her eyes. "The Krillians are already broadcasting their version. They claim she attacked first, that our delegation was armed and hostile." Webb shook his head. "The other species are choosing sides. Most of them believe the Krillian account." "Then they're fools," Sarah said flatly. Elena Vasquez dedicated her life to peaceful coexistence. She would never have thrown away 3 years of diplomatic progress for violence. Webb nodded, his decision already made. "President Santos has called an emergency session of the Earth Council, every nation, every colony, every orbital station. This isn't just about revenge anymore, Captain. This is about survival." The holographic display activated, showing Earth's political leaders gathered in emergency session. President Maria Santos spoke first, her voice carrying across the solar system to every human settlement. "The Krillian Empire has violated every principle of galactic diplomacy. They lured our greatest diplomat to her death under the pretense of peace. Ambassador Vasquez died believing in the possibility of coexistence. Her death proves that some species view mercy as weakness." Sarah watched from the Luna Station command center as the votes came in. Colony after colony, nation after nation. The decision was unanimous. The time for diplomacy had ended. Dr. James Harrison's replacement, Dr. Lisa Park, accessed the classified military files that Elena had helped secure during her years of service. The ambassador's intelligence network was more extensive than anyone realized. She knew this day might come. Webb leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "Project Excalibur, sir. The deep space military installations. The weapon development programs. The fleet expansion. Ambassador Vasquez used her diplomatic missions to scout strategic positions throughout Krillian space. She was preparing for war while negotiating for peace." Sarah felt a cold smile cross her lips. Even in death, Elena Vasquez was still protecting humanity. President Santos addressed the assembled leaders one final time. "The Krillian Empire believes they have eliminated our greatest weakness by killing our greatest diplomat. They are wrong. Elena Vasquez was not our weakness. She was our restraint. The vote was unanimous. Earth's response would be swift, total, and devastating. Admiral Webb turned to Sarah, his eyes hard as steel. "Captain Chen, you're hereby promoted to colonel. You'll be leading the new Black Ops division." "What are my orders, sir?" Webb's smile was cold as winter. The Krillians wanted to see what humans do when diplomacy fails. Operation Ghost Storm begins in 72 hours. We're going to show them exactly what they've unleashed. The Unleashing 3. Months after Ambassador Vasquez's assassination, the Krillian Empire still celebrated their diplomatic victory. High Archon Zythek addressed the Galactic Senate from his throne world, his scales gleaming with satisfaction as he spoke of humanity's inevitable surrender. "The human delegation's aggressive behavior left us no choice but to defend ourselves." Zythek's words echoed through the great chamber. Their so-called ambassador was revealed to be a military operative, armed and hostile. The peace negotiations were merely a facade for human treachery. The assembled species nodded in agreement. The Valdari, ancient enemies of humanity, clicked their approval. The Nexari, neutral for centuries, expressed their support for Krillian self-defense. Even the Terran sympathizers among the Altarian delegation remained silent. Colonel Sarah Chen watched the broadcast from the bridge of the stealth destroyer Phantom's Edge, her face expressionless. Around her, the most elite soldiers in Earth's military prepared for an operation that would change the galaxy forever. Tracking confirms 12 Krillian battle groups moving toward the Sol system, reported Lieutenant Commander Alex Rodriguez, her tactical officer. "They expect to find a broken, defenseless Earth." Sarah nodded, remembering Elena's final words about humanity's hidden strength. "Then they're in for quite a surprise. Signal the fleet. Operation Ghost Storm is a go, Admiral." Webb's voice crackled through the encrypted channel from Earth Command. "Ghost Storm units, you are cleared for Phase 1. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species that thinks humans are too weak to defend themselves. The first Krillian patrol to die never even saw what killed them." The stealth frigate Silent Arrow materialized from empty space, its new quantum cloaking system finally perfected after years of secret development. Captain Torres, Sarah's former colleague who had survived his injuries at Nexus Prime, commanded the vessel with cold precision. Target acquired. Krillian cruiser Bone Render, isolated from the main fleet. Torres's voice was steady as stone. For Elena, the antimatter torpedoes struck before the Krillians could even raise their shields. The cruiser simply ceased to exist, vaporized in a flash of pure energy. The only evidence of its presence was a brief quantum signature that faded within seconds. Similar attacks occurred simultaneously across 17 systems. Krillian patrol ships, supply convoys, and communication relays vanished without warning. Within 6 hours, the Empire had lost nearly a quarter of its outer system defenses and had no idea how. High Archon Zythek's throne room on Krill Prime was a monument to conquest, decorated with trophies from dozens of defeated species. When the reports began arriving, his scales shifted to colors that his advisors had never seen before. "Impossible," Zythek hissed, studying the tactical displays. "Humans don't possess stealth technology. Our intelligence networks confirmed their technological limitations." General Hax, his military commander, reviewed the scattered reports with growing unease. "My lord, the attack patterns suggest coordination across multiple systems. This isn't the work of scattered resistance cells. This is organized military action." "From what fleet?" Zythek's voice rose. "We destroyed their primary battle groups during the Proxima campaign. Earth's Navy was reduced to patrol vessels and system defense platforms. That's when the second phase began. The Krillian mining world of Kareth was a fortress, its surface bristling with planetary defense batteries and orbital weapons platforms. A full battle group of 8 heavy cruisers maintained constant patrol around the system's perimeter. It was considered impregnable. Colonel Sarah Chen led the assault personally, her Black Ops team infiltrating the world through a previously unknown network of underground caves. While her commandos disabled the surface defenses, the newly revealed Human battle fleet emerged from hyperspace. The Krillians stared in shock at ships that shouldn't exist. Massive dreadnoughts with armor plating that absorbed their energy weapons. Destroyers that moved faster than anything in the known galaxy. Fighters with weapon systems that punched through Krillian shields like paper. Where did they come from? General Hax demanded, watching his fleet being systematically destroyed on the tactical display. The answer came from Earth's new admiral, Marcus Webb, his image broadcast across all Krillian communication networks. Behind him stood the assembled leaders of humanity, no longer the desperate diplomats who had pleaded for peace. "You killed our ambassador." Webb's voice carried the weight of an entire species' fury. Elena Vasquez spent 10 years trying to find a peaceful solution to our conflicts. She believed in coexistence, in the possibility that different species could share the galaxy without endless war. On Krill Prime, Zythek watched the human admiral with growing horror. "You murdered her during peace negotiations," Webb continued. "You betrayed every principle of galactic civilization, but more than that, you made a critical error in judgment. You assumed that our diplomat was our strength. You were wrong. Elena Vasquez wasn't our strength. She was our restraint." The third phase of Operation Ghost Storm struck at the heart of Krillian military doctrine. Their command structure, built on centralized control and rigid hierarchy, collapsed when human cyber warfare specialists infiltrated their communication networks. Ships lost contact with their commanders. Entire fleets found themselves isolated, cut off from reinforcements and tactical support. Dr. Lisa Park, working from her laboratory deep beneath Earth's surface, smiled as her quantum algorithms tore through Krillian security systems. Elena had provided the diplomatic intelligence that made this possible, mapping the Empire's communication networks during years of patient observation. All their military communications are routed through Krill Prime, Park reported to Admiral Webb. Ambassador Vasquez identified the vulnerability 3 years ago. She called it their fatal flaw of pride. Sarah led the final assault on the Krillian home system, her task force emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation. The defenders, already confused by the communication blackout, found themselves facing a human fleet that fought with tactics they had never encountered. Human ships didn't rely on massive formations or overwhelming firepower. They used precision, mobility, and coordination that seemed almost telepathic. Squadrons of fighters wove through Krillian formations like dancers, striking at weak points with surgical accuracy. Capital ships provided support with weapons that adapted to enemy defenses in real time. The Battle of Krill Prime lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Krillian Empire's military was broken, their fleet scattered, their homeworld's orbital defenses nothing but debris floating in space. High, Archon Zythek stood on his throne room balcony, watching human ships patrol the skies above his capital city. His scales had faded to a pale gray, the color of defeat and shame. Sarah materialized in the throne room, her stealth suit powered down to reveal the battle-scarred colonel who had escaped Nexus Prime months ago. Behind her came Admiral Webb and President Santos, the leaders of a species that Zythek had gravely underestimated. "You came to surrender?" Zythek asked, his voice barely a whisper. "No," Sarah replied calmly. "We came to accept yours." President Santos stepped forward, her diplomatic bearing unchanged despite the military victory. "The Krillian Empire is dissolved. Your worlds will be administered by the Galactic Council until new governments can be established. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your leaders will face trial for war crimes." Zythek's eyes fixed on Sarah. "The human who escaped. You planned this all along." "Elena Vasquez planned this," Sarah corrected. "She spent 10 years preparing for the possibility that diplomacy might fail. She hoped it never would. But she made sure that if it did, humanity would be ready." Admiral Webb activated his communicator, broadcasting to the assembled Galactic Senate. The same species that had condemned Earth months ago now watched in stunned silence as human ships patrolled former Krillian space. "This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Force," and his voice carried across the galaxy. "The Krillian Empire has surrendered unconditionally. Their war crimes against humanity and other species will be investigated by an international tribunal. Any species that supported their actions may expect to be held accountable. The reaction was immediate. The Valdari, who had celebrated humanity's supposed weakness, suddenly found themselves isolated as their neighbors distanced themselves from any anti-human sentiment. The Nixari, who had remained neutral, sent urgent diplomatic messages offering trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. Sarah stood at the viewport of her command ship, watching Earth's new colonies being established in former Krillian space. Millions of humans were spreading across the galaxy, no longer confined to their small corner of the solar system. Dr. Park's voice came through the communicator. "Colonel, we've finished analyzing the ambassador's personal files. She left detailed plans for post-war reconstruction, trade agreements, even cultural exchange programs. She was planning for peace even while preparing for war." Sarah smiled, remembering Elena's final words. The ambassador had been right. Humans were never weak. They had simply been restrained by their hope for a better galaxy. That restraint was gone now, burned away in the fires of Nexus Prime. What remained was humanity unleashed, spreading across the stars with the confidence of a species that had proven itself in the crucible of galactic war. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.